lucha? You want lucha? You want lucha? You want lucha? I've got lucha for you!
Welcome to Back to the Temple, the Lucha Underground Rewatch podcast. I'm Adam from FWCI on YouTube, and joining me as always is my co-host Malik.
Ayo!
Ayo indeed, Malik. Ayo indeed. And this is episode 2 of the podcast. So last week we got to cover the very first episode of Lucha Underground. This is the episode that originally aired on November the 5th, 2014, titled Los Demonios, I think is how we say that. We'll have to find out. But interesting episode. What were your initial, just general thoughts on this episode compared to the first one?
Episode was another really fun episode. It wasn't as fun a watch beginning to end as the first episode, but I think that was intentional. Have the first episode be the big bang that starts off the season, have the second episode set up the story, and it achieved that goal perfectly anyways.
Yeah. I think this episode, they did a lot of following up on the storylines that were established the first week. So this was kind of like that second chapter that's setting up the third chapter, which is where all the big stuff happens. But no, it was a fun watch. Before we jump into the episode breakdown, it was revealed today that Mlw Azteca Miniseries will be debuting on YouTube and Fight TV in January 2022. So it's only about a month away. This was confirmed by MLW's Court Bauer. He said that wrestling in America is on fire, but what's missing is more representation from Mexico. Enter Mlw Azteca and the masked world of authentic Mexican Lucha Libre. It's being called the spiritual successor for Lucha Underground, and we've already got a few people associated with it, including Dario Quetto, who now is known as Cesar Duran. So I think I should ask the question, although I don't know if this is going to be in continuity with the Lucha Underground storyline, but Malik, you're going to be checking out Azteca Underground.
Oh, for sure. I will have to get through the whole season first. I think at this point, it's kind of getting hard for me to pace myself watching this show, because every single day I'm wanting to watch it more and more, but I've been trying to pace myself. But when we talk about it on the podcast, I might just start binging the whole seasons, honestly. And when Azteca comes out, for sure I think I'm going to be there, because I'm loving everything I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, what's interesting about it is Lucha Underground had 4 seasons, and I'm not sure if this is, and they were definitely in like a narrative plot kind of format, like everything followed on from everything else. So yeah, I'm interested to see if this is going to touch on anything that happened in season 4, because that's the one season that I haven't seen. So this is going to be an interesting thing. I might do a bit of investigating into this before I do watch it, but interesting to see that Lucha is back in the news. So that's fantastic. But let's jump into the episode breakdown for Los Demonios. We started with the crew in the ring. That's Big Rick's posse with Cortez Castro, Mr. Cisco, and Big Rick. And they're cutting a little bit of a promo. Now, this is where Lucha Underground, I think, shows... I say it shows weakness, but in reality, I mean, this is just the jobber team. They did not hire Cisco or Castro for their promo abilities. They hired them to, bounce around for the baby faces. But this came off as kind of like cheap TV, I guess, because, we got these guys that are really not great promo guys trying to carry the weight of a promo where they're trying to introduce themselves and be kind of intimidating.
Yeah, you can totally see that with these guys, and especially when Cortez takes the stage and grabs the microphone, and he's cutting that first promo. It wasn't great, but I was all in for it. And then when Cisco got to the microphone, and after Cortez's promo, all he had to say was, "And I'm Cisco," I just kind of busted out laughing. I could not take those guys seriously at all. So that makes sense, like, hearing that they were just jobbers, like...
Basically, yeah. You're not going to see a Cortez Castro, Mr. Cisco, Lucha Underground Championship match anytime soon. But I did enjoy Big Rick's promo. He's got that really cool South African accent, and he's a great character in this series. Big Rick is, and we're definitely going to see a lot more of him. But it's Puma and Johnny Mundo attacking the crew and Big Rick. But what are your thoughts of Big Rick following up from his appearance last week?
So far, Big Rick's my favorite member of the crew. I love this promo, especially when he came to the ring and got on the microphone. But I was going to say this about Big Rick on the last episode, but it totally passed my mind. He legitimately looks like a real life Luke Cage. Like, he looks more like Luke Cage than the actor who even played Luke Cage. Dude is scary big.
Yeah, he is. He reminds me a lot of Ice Cube as well. He's got like those like real angry looking eyebrows like Ice Cube has, and I think that's a big part of what made him successful in WWE, to be honest. But yeah, Rick is an absolute beast. But we got the attack by Johnny Mundo, then Prince Puma ran out and helped him out. Then Dario comes out of his office. So now you see where Dario's office is located in the temple?
Yeah, that was actually really funny to see that, because I knew you pointed it out in the last episode, but I didn't even notice it. And then when that camera cut and it's literally right by the ring, it makes sense for Dario, a man so in love with violence, to be right next to the ring at all times, basically. So it's a funny little thing to see every time. It's literally just 2 steps from the ring.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's weird because he has that sunlight over the the blinds every time he, every time he's having interviews in there, or when he has people sitting in his office and stuff, like the sunlight comes through. I think that's what throws me off on where that office is located and when these things are happening. But Dario comes out and announces a tag team match right now, which will be Puma and Mundo defeating Cortez Castro and Mr. Cisco, defeating them with stereo 450 splashes, which was honestly, that's like the only way this match could have ended. Like the storytelling of like, these are the two top baby faces, they're high flying, they can't be stopped, they're fucking awesome, blah blah blah. Hitting the stereo 450 splashes to win was like just the perfect way to end that match. But what were your thoughts on the opening match with Puma and Mundo defeating Castro and Cisco?
Gotta agree with you on the finish. That finish was perfect for the match, because one thing Mundo and Puma did really well in that match is they showed off the teamwork aspect of tag team wrestling really well. So there was a lot of cool spots where if one person was down, the other person would end up then taking on 2 dudes at once and fighting Cisco and Cortez in the ring. And the other dude would get back up, and then they'll do a move together, and they'll move on to the next thing, and it flowed really well. And it was like those... I'm not sure if they did many tag team matches together, because I'm not sure of their careers, but they had great chemistry in the ring.
Yeah, they've never teamed before this, and it was just a case of both of these guys are pretty exceptional in the ring, and they're also telling the story of like, it's the two baby faces, like they're so good that they can coexist and even like function as a full-blown like tag team. I'm actually pretty surprised how long the match went. I thought they would have finished it much sooner than they did. That's probably my only criticism, is I feel like the match went a little bit long. But we also got the advancement of the storyline of Big Rick watching from the steps, just smoking on his cigar, and that again is foretelling more of the story with Big Rick and the crew. So
I love the part where Conan says too, Vampiro says on microphone, "Oh, look at this guy smoking a cigar. Like, what does that teach the kids?" Like, I mean, they're fighting in the ring already, dude. Like, I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, we do get some pretty hilarious, like, outrageous commentary like that in this show from time to time, but Vampiro is great quality. But we move on to a backstage scene, which is Conan warning Prince Puma not to get involved in Johnny Mundo's war with Dario Quetto, which obviously this is great continuity, because Conan knows that Dario has it out for Johnny Mundo, because that's why he got Prince Puma to fight him in episode 1. And it's also adding on to the fact we just saw Puma come in and, help Johnny Mundo as well. So, just good storytelling, like just telling it scene by scene like a movie rather than having to wait, weeks or whatever for things to play out like on other wrestling shows. But we're going to see a lot of these kind of promos in Dario Quetto's office.
Yeah, I really can't wait to see what goes on between Prince Puma and Conan, and Vampiro's commentary about Conan's teaching to Puma's always just adding a bit more insight to the story and adding a bit more insight onto the type of person Conan is as a teacher, and I really want to see how this story plays out. This looks fun.
Because it's starting to be more now like a, those 90s, street, hip-hop kind of street dramas where, one kid in the school, got a gun and everyone's like, oh, shit, what is it, the one with Tupac Juice, I think it is, it's kind of that kind of thing, hey, man, you don't want to get involved with this guy from this neighborhood because he's got beef with this other guy from this other neighborhood, it's just adding in more of that kind of, street mentality sort of element to it feels like. So and Dario's a very imposing character as well, so it makes sense that he would be someone you'd be like, hey, you don't want to mess with this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we get next, the Mil Muertes is going to debut tonight, which, I can never get enough of Mil Muertes, so I'm pretty keen for that. But we'll talk more about Mil towards the main event, because it's time for Chavo, Guerrero, and Sexy Star versus Son of Havoc and Elise. So, again, following up from last week, it was a follow-up of Havoc and Sexy Star's match, where Havoc got the win by nefarious means, and we also get Chavo Guerrero in this as well, so that's obviously going to play into later on in the show. So it was Sexy Star and Chavo getting the win, Chavo being chivalrous, Sexy getting her revenge on Havoc. What was your opinion of this particular match, the intergender tag match?
I'm really enjoying the intergender matches so far. They're really fun matches to watch, and the women wrestlers in the show are total badasses. Elise and Sexy Star were my two favorite wrestlers. Obviously not to put down Chavo, but I've seen many Chavo matches already. Sexy Star and Elise were what I was watching the match for, because they were just putting on a great match.
Well, Son of Havoc as well. He's not going to jump off the screen or anything like that, but he, from a mechanical, technical standpoint, he's as good a wrestler as anyone could be. He's somebody to, when you watch his matches, watch exactly where he positions himself, what kind of angle he is at when certain things happen and things like that, because Son of Havoc is somebody who is an absolute master of his craft. Matt Cross, his real name is. So he's got a lot to add, and you're right, Elise is an absolute beast. She's also kind of she's kind of like thick in the body, just not overweight or anything, but just a thick, broad kind of frame, kind of like Rhea Ripley. She's just got that wide frame. She's not quite thick and built up muscular wise, but she's just got that build. And Elise is somebody who 100% I think could go into a men's division and be competitive in a realistic kind of thing. Now, with all that being said, remember last week we had a conversation about Sexy Star?
Yeah, didn't Sexy Star attack someone in the ring as a shoot on them? Yeah.
Yes, she did. So Elise has a similar situation, not quite as bad as that one, but Elise has a bit of a history of just being very feisty, very fiery, and often, she put it this way, there's a reason that she isn't in AEW, WWE, or anywhere at the moment. And there was a long period of time where she was nowhere after Lucha Underground, and it's because of this reputation that has preceded her. And she did get a shot in AEW earlier this year, maybe about 6 months ago, I would say. And she had a match with Thunder Rosa, I believe it was. And you can find video of it. Elise is just... It's not that she's no-selling Thunder Rosa's offense as much as she's just sitting there while Thunder Rosa is trying to have a match with her.
Oh, Christ.
really unprofessional. Just, I don't know. I think she got one more match after that, and she said something else stupid, like, you know, behind the scenes, and she ended up getting tossed from AEW. But Elise is very, very good, and in Lucha Underground, this is the perfect environment for her. But don't expect to see much of her, you know, from 2022 onwards.
Yeah, I remember hearing the name Elise in AEW for like a short period of time, and then not hearing her name until we did this podcast.
Yeah, and it's a real shame because she is such a great character. She's such a great presence in the wrestling ring, and I would love to see Elise anywhere if she could, you know, be respectful and get her shit together. So, but Sexy Star getting her revenge on Son of Havoc with the nice little roll up after Chavo hitting the frog splash. Backstage, we had Katrina warning Blue Demon Jr. that Mil Muertes is coming for him. This is okay, so we're going to see more of this from Katrina, but the way that this went was kind of weird. She said, Mil sends a message, then she licked his mask, and then she said, a taste before 1,000 deaths. Now, the licking of the mask, that's going to be significant. I know what that means, but in regards to this being the first time we see Katrina on screen, and she's licking this guy's face saying, Mil Muertes sends you a message, I can understand why people might get that a bit confused.
Yeah, it was a bit weird the first time watching it, but I mean, with a show like this, I kind of just suspend my disbelief. Even if there's some weird like that, I just totally roll with it.
Well, I hope we'll put it this way. Without giving any spoilers, Mil Muertes does not sexually pursue Blue Demon Jr., so you're fine. We've got a training montage for Prince Puma next. Conan says, when a close friend, somebody you all might know, says he found a new star for me to train. Now, I don't specifically remember it ever being revealed who hooked up Conan with Prince Puma, but I think I know who he's referring to there, and it's friggin' awesome, and I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to ruin anything for upcoming episodes, but that line, when a close friend, somebody you all might know, says he found a star for me to train, that is a significant line, which will, I think, pay off in later seasons of Lucha Underground. But I'll quickly say what else was said in there. He talks about Puma is a descendant of the fiercest renegade tribe of the Aztecs, revered among their allies and feared by their enemies. A more sort of Aztec mythology being added into the Prince Puma character, which I'm all for. What did you think about the Prince Puma montage with Conan talking?
That backstory was killer. Like, Prince Puma, for the first episode, it was a cool face, and I was all there to root for him, but this specific promo, it seems like every single one, every promo relating to Prince Puma is cooler and cooler and cooler, and it only gets better after I watch it. And I really like the story of when Conan said, like, yeah, his friend found him in one of the worst areas, fighting for his life in an alleyway, and he bears the name of like an Azteca warrior tribe. Like, that whole piece of history totally like can back up the credentials in the ring. It's fucking awesome. It's that type of comic book storytelling that I love in wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's honestly a really, really good example of the blending of those two worlds. This whole Prince Puma introduction, it really kind of sets the identity of the show in general, because Puma is the star, and his whole backstory is like, you know, this is finding out that Batman's, you know, mum and dad got shot in an alley, and, you know, that's basically what this sort of setup is. So
yeah,
and they're really going in hard to promote Prince Puma over the first two episodes. So they're doing a great job of getting him over as the upcoming superstar. But main event time: Mil Muertes versus Blue Demon Jr. Mil Muertes is a beast. The outcome of this match was never in question at all, but they didn't just leave us with a predictable main event. We got a lot of activity after the match, but Mil enters with Katrina, and Katrina holds a mysterious rock. Now, this is going to be explained in the next episode. I'm not sure if you've watched ahead of that yet or not, but Katrina holds the rock. Mil dominates the match, wins with the flatliner. Mil Muertes defeats Blue Demon Jr. What did you think of the match portion of the main event?
The match started off really fun because Mil Muertes basically just ran into the... Oh, not ran into the ring, sorry. Just kind of stalked into the ring looking like Michael Myers with his mask off. Just huge. And then just beat the shit out of Blue Demon. Just hit him with the most aggressive strikes to start off. Basically just fucking ragdolled him. And then took him out, beat his head into the announce table. And from the start, I could so totally see Mil Muertes being like one of the best heels on this show. Like, his in-ring power is a sight to see.
So he's not overly big, but he looks like he is because the rest of the roster are all very, very short, basically. But he is... I look at him as being the Undertaker of Lucha Underground, and as the series goes on, you'll see a lot of parallels between the character of Mil Muertes and the character of the Undertaker, and that's one of the reasons why he's one of my favorites. Like, his character is so strong. He really embodies that Undertaker kind of presence, and not in like a forced way, in a way that the story tells it like that, but the way the wrestler, Ricky Reyes, I think his name is, the way he also kind of portrays the character, they just blend perfectly the exact same way that Mark Calloway and The Undertaker blended. So Mil Muertes is an absolute treasure to watch. But all the juice for this happened after the match. So we get Chavo Guerrero come out, and he stops Mil from beating down Blue Demon after the bell. Chavo then smacks Blue Demon in the head with a chair and starts assaulting him. Yes, we're going to get to see, not unprotected chair shots, but we're going to see some chair shots to the head in Lucha Underground, that's for sure. We then get two luchadors come out to help, which is, one of them is Famous B. I'm not sure who the other one is, but we meet Famous B later on in the series. He's one of my favorite characters. They both get wiped out with chairs. Sexy Star comes out to try and talk some sense into Chavo, begging him to reconsider. Chavo obliterates Sexy Star with a chair shot, goes full heel, and then he keeps beating down Blue Demon after he's been attached to the stretcher, and the credits roll to end the episode. But wow, the aftermath of the main event.
Yeah, that was a chaotic main event. I did not see Chavo Guerrero coming out at all. That threw me off guard, but I love that whole segment. He beat the shit out of Demon.
Well, it followed on from last week because Blue Demon tapped out Chavo in the main match. And Chavo was definitely playing the babyface in that. So clearly they wrote like a two-story arc for Chavo to be like babyface, heel. So he's like a super duper babyface, which is why we got all the chivalry with him helping Sexy Star in that match. All just to kind of, lure you into that false sense of security before he comes out and belts her in the head with a chair.
Yeah, it was insane seeing Blue Demon get hospitalized while he's being stretched out, beaten in the head by Chavo. That whole scene was insane. Chavo comes out, he's stomping his feet, he's kicking chairs, he's going crazy. Oh man, that was great.
And at the time, Chavo was perfect for this role. He was at an age where he was definitely ready to give back to the wrestling business, and with his history and what Lucha Underground was, and just his character as well, and how well he can play that kind of, viciousness and that, fiery kind of like, angry, upset, betrayed kind of dude. He was just the perfect fit for like a high-level heel role in Lucha Underground to start with. So, love the ending there. Love the Chavo heel turn. That is episode 2 of Lucha Underground. So, obviously, there's not really a great deal to compare it to. We've got episode 1, which was fantastic. This was probably not as fantastic, and you would hope that because, you want episode 1 to be, something particularly special. But I'm so on board with this story. I'm so back in tune with what I'm waiting to see and where this is going to go. And yeah, episode 3 is going to be a doozy. So any sort of general thoughts on episode 2?
Yeah, episode 2 was a really fun episode. As I said before, it was mainly just more of an expositional episode. It wasn't the big bang of the first episode where they're showing off all their new roster, and basically the first episode, it was kind of more like, it felt more like an advertisement of Lucha Underground, which is kind of what you want from the first episode. But the second episode sets up the stories with everyone perfectly, and I loved it. And you were talking about cliffhangers and how a lot of episodes in Lucha Underground have great cliffhangers, and yeah, this one was another great cliffhanger episode. I want to see what happens with Chavo's heel run, and I want to see what happens with Blue Demon, if he comes back on next week, or if he's injured for a few weeks or something like that. I really want to see what's going on with this.
Yeah. When Blue Demon comes back, remind me to talk about the length of time that he is out for, because that's certainly a topic that is interesting to look at with Lucha Underground. But before we wrap it up, we got a couple of regular segments that we like to do every week. First one is called Where Are They Now?, where we just check in on what's going on with one of the Lucha Underground talent now in 2022. And the other one is called What If They Were?, where we kind of have a look at what kind of character a wrestler who was never in Lucha Underground might have had if they were in the promotion. So let's start with Where Are They Now? And this week is going to be, well, the man himself, Big Rick, sitting up there smoking a cigar in the stands, watching his jobbers get beaten by the baby faces. So his name is Rickson Stevens in real life, and he actually retired from pro wrestling on October the 18th, 2015, and he's now working as a personal trainer as of 2016. And I did actually reach out to him to see if he'd be interested in being interviewed. He was a little bit busy, which is fair enough, but it looks like he's still a personal trainer. But Lucha Underground was basically his last wrestling job, so that's kind of what happened with Big Rick after he finished up at Lucha Underground.
If you're going to get a personal trainer, who better to get than Big Rick?
Oh man, the guy is an absolute force. Like, his stint in the WWE ECW was not the best, but before that they had him as a bodyguard for Brian Kendrick, and that was the perfect role for him.
What other promotions was he in?
He was not in many. I think WWE got him in developmental. Like, I think they were really his first sort of signing, because, right. I mean, you look at the size of the guy, he definitely would have stood out. I'm sure they would have been like, hey, have you got wrestling knowledge? No? Well, here's a couple of $1 million. Yeah, we'll pay you to stay jacked and learn how to throw a fake punch. So I'm pretty sure WWE is where he started, at least probably down in Florida FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, the developmental. But yeah, he didn't really have an overly long pro wrestling career. So he kind of came in, did his thing. He is a former Intercontinental Champion. I think he's a former Tag Champion. He was the last ever ECW Champion. He did all right for himself, old Big Rick.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to check out some of his other stuff from WWE ECW, because I never watched that show. I haven't heard many good things, so I didn't go to check it out. It wasn't something I was pursuing. But, I mean, if Big Rick's in it, I'll give it a watch, because I do like Big Rick's work so far in Lucha Underground.
Yeah, he at one point he was William Regal had two big bodyguards. It was Vladimir Kozlov and Ezekiel Jackson is his WWE name. And so Regal was heavily involved in it. I think he had a few decent matches with Christian. It's worth a look, because he's a very unique and interesting talent, and did a fantastic job in Lucha Underground.
Yeah, and Regal's always gold too.
Oh, don't even get. We need to do a What If They Were for William Regal.
Oh, for sure.
But for this week, we will actually go with his countryman, another Englishman, a Geordie in particular. This is the Bastard Pac. So, what if Pac was in Lucha Underground, or Adrian Neville, as a lot of people sort of know him as? So, I was sort of thinking I'd make him like a Lucha Libre hating villain, like heel. So, or Rudo, as the luchas like to call it. He's kind of the guy who's like, he can do moves better than all the luchadors. He takes exception to the masks. He's always trying to take people's masks off. And knowing how this show goes, he could probably even go on a spree of just removing, jobber luchadors' masks, like just to sort of build up that character. And I would have his big crescendo match be against Rey Fenix, mask versus mask. Pac is forced to wear a mask for the rest of his career in Lucha Underground, and he gets some, cool black kind of mask that he has to wear for the last season or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty much a perfect storyline, but I couldn't really come up for anything myself with Pac, because I haven't paid attention much to his career, so I don't have much to say on what I think Pac would be doing in Lucha Underground, because I've only ever seen him as a face in AEW.
I think he's a heel in that. I guess they're baby faces now, but
yeah, he's more
Death
of a
Triangle,
face now.
Death Triangle just kind of listed lazily to the left into becoming baby faces. Like, I don't think anything really significant happened. They just kind of suddenly were baby faces, and Pac wasn't really around, but now he is, so he's a baby face by proxy. He's in a little bit of limbo at the moment in AEW, to be honest. So yeah, and put it this way, anytime he gets in between the ropes, it's just absolute chaos in the best possible way. So the guy is a beast, and I think if you want to tell a good story with him, it needs to be something that takes place in between the four ropes. So give me Pac, the Lucha Libre hunter, the mask hunter, we'll call him. Pac, the mask hunting bastard. How about that?
Oh, you fucking nailed it. You need to send this over to Azteca right now. Send them an email, say sign Pac, because that name is even perfect for him. Even the name is perfect.
He can rename his finisher what's like decapitated, but with Pac, depacitated.
I don't know about that one.
We can remove their head, remove the mask, depacitated, depacitate them. I like it. I'm gonna go patent that just in case.
I think there might be a few eyebrows raised, but it sounds all right. I'm gonna patent it anyway. But that is gonna do it for this week, everyone. Thanks for checking out episode 2 of Back to the Temple, the Lucha Underground Rewatch podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at FWCIE. I post links to all my wrestling, gaming, and reaction content, and I just talk a bunch of shit on there sometimes. So follow me on there and check that out. Malik, have you learned the Twitter handle for Back to the Temple's Twitter account? Alright, I'm just gonna type it into my notes really quickly. It's just back to the temple, right?
Yeah.
Alright, I just wanted to make sure so I didn't just blurt out something wrong.
It's at Back to the Temple. That's fine. I'm just gonna leave all this in. This is fun. We'll see next week if you're on the ball. I'll spring it on you again.
Nice.
But thanks for checking out the podcast, everyone. And as always, be well, stay safe, look after your friends. See you in the next. Well, hang on, not see you in the next video. Hear you on the next podcast. Hear me on the next podcast. Well, this is going terribly. Peace.